Hustle culture in 2026, it's over. It's done. Okay. And if it's not, I'm killing it because I'm over it. I have worked with over 1,000 patients in my practice, and I constantly have people coming in who are just like, if I had more time to do more things and I need to do more, do more, do more, do more, do more. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. We don't need to do more in order to be consistent, in order to be healthy, in order to achieve our goals. And we need to get out of the mentality that doing more is the solution, because it never is. I have spent years and years of my life trying to do more. And the more that I did, the more burnt out that I got, the more that I tried to hustle harder, honestly, the worse that I ended up feeling about myself. And so I really wanted to share 7 tips to help you be consistent with your goals this year without hustling harder or without burning out. I see burnout so much in my private practice as a naturopathic doctor, and so much of burnout stems from nervous system dysregulation. And honestly, the big reason we're burnt out is because we're trying to do so much. And I think it's so interesting that the more that we try to do, the less that we're actually able to accomplish. I remember when I first started my business, I used to pride myself on working these 12, 14-hour days. And I remember telling my friends about how hard I was working. And I felt like I was getting nowhere except to burnout. And I would burn myself out. And then what would happen is that I would have no capacity to show up for my business for weeks. And then I would find myself in these cycles of doing too much, doing the most, and then burning out, and then taking time off, and then doing the most, and then burning out. And it was so hard for me to actually be consistent because I was out here trying to do the most. So if you feel like that, if you feel like you are stuck in these cycles of where you do the most, you're on top of your healthy habits, and then boom, you just fall off, and then you're off for weeks or maybe months, and it takes you forever to get back on track. Then you get back on track, then you're on top of your game for a couple of weeks, then you burn yourself up because you're trying to do too much and you can't sustain it all. Let's break that cycle. And I'm going to show you in this video how you can break this cycle by actually mastering consistency in a way that feels achievable and doable. Because I want 2026 to be the year for you where you actually are able to stick with your habits all year long. Apparently, the research shows only 9% of people stick with their healthy habits all year. And I want you to be part of that 9%, because you better believe that I'm going to be part of that 9% this year, because I have made some big drastic changes and how I'm approaching consistency in my life. If you're new to this channel, my name is Dr. Bisley Natalie. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapy certified naturopathic doctor, and I teach people how they can optimize their body to build a strong mind, because I truly believe that mental resilience, mental wellness, it starts in your body. And when your body is optimized and feeling good, your mind is going to feel that much better, and it's going to get that much better and easier for you to actually control your thoughts and your emotions. And so that's why today's video is just so important, because when we look at supporting the health of our body, it's important for us to be able to be consistent with our habits, because if we're not consistent with our habits, we're not going to see these powerful changes that we want in our body, because we know it's the simple things done over time and time and time again that allow us to achieve the best results with our health. And if you can't be consistent, you're not going to be able to see any of the incredible, amazing results that you truly can in your body. And with that being said, let's get into the tips. So tip number 1 is to reframe this year. Reframe this year, and most importantly, reframe what you're actually going to focus on. The biggest mistake that a lot of us make is that we try to focus on like 10 different things at once. Let me tell you the truth, your body doesn't have the capacity for that, and neither does your life. And so this is why, we start the year off feeling so hopeful. We have these 10 different things and habits that we want to implement in our life, and we feel like we can do it all until like 2 to 3 weeks into this, and we realize that we can, and then we start to feel like failures. So this year, I want you to do something different. I know I'm approaching this year very differently. I want you to choose just one thing that you want to make a priority and focus on in your life. Okay, just one thing, whether that be your health, whether that be your business or career, whether that be your family or your relationships. Choose one thing, one priority that I want you to have for the year. Now, this doesn't mean that other things aren't going to be important, right? Like if you are a parent with 2 children, but you want to focus on your career this year, year. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to your family and be like, peace out, see you guys never. I'm going to go focus on my business this year. I don't got time for you guys this year. Obviously, you can't do that. So this doesn't mean that you're not going to focus and pay attention to the other areas of your life, but this does mean that you have one singular laser focus on one particular area, and you're going to dedicate your best energy to this area of your life. And then whatever's kind of left over, you're going to give to other areas of your life unapologetically. And so when you can have this main priority and focus, it allows you to laser in, and anything that doesn't align with it, you can say no to. So for example, for me this year, this is the year that I really want to dive deep into my business and give it my 150% in my business. And so this means that I'm going to try to say no to as many social opportunities as possible, which honestly is very difficult for me, and it's something that I still need to work on. I'm literally the first friend who's just like, someone calls me up and goes like, yo, do you want to go skiing today? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I'm down. I'm literally the first friend to say yes to everything, and I need to dial that back. And I am now going to be probably the first friend to say no to everything because I have other priorities in my life right now. And so having this one laser focus allows you to prioritize so that when other random things come up, you can say no to them. And that's why this is so important. The reason we start to become inconsistent is because your mind, your brain, your body is being pulled into all of these different directions. And trust me, I've lived years of my life this way. And when you're pulled into all these different directions, you get to master nothing. Before I used to be like, okay, let me have 2 to 3 priorities. No, don't even have 2 to 3 priorities. Have one singular priority, one singular thing that you specifically want to focus on for the year, and you drown out the noise for everything else. You're not struggling because you're aiming too high. You're struggling because you're aiming in all these different directions and different areas. So I want you to get really, really choosy. When you get really, really choosy and you drown out the noise of all these other areas and you just focus on this one area to be optimized in your life, you are going to shine. Like imagine if this is the year that you simply want to focus on your health. Imagine, you spend these 365 days, these next, year focusing on your health. Like you're going to be in a completely different spot by the end of the year versus if you're like, I'm going to focus on my health and my relationships, and I'm going to focus on my career. Already your attention is divided up into these 3 different areas, and it's so hard for you to actually focus on that one singular area and actually grow to that level. And imagine if you could take your energy from 2 of the other areas and put it in one singular area, how much you truly are going to grow. So remember, this is not the year to do it all. This is the year to do one thing and to do it extremely well and master it. Tip number 2 that I want you to work and focus on is I want you to regulate your nervous system before you do anything first. Why this becomes so important is because so many of us, we're acting on automatic. We're constantly stressed out. We're constantly rushing to the next thing. Our, schedule is jam-packed with things to do. And because now we are in this state of automatic, in this state of rush, we can't be conscious about the version of ourselves that we are showing up as in this moment. And when you can't consciously think about who you're showing up as, you end up acting on automatic. And when you act on automatic, your brain is simply repeating the past. Your brain is simply repeating what has been most comfortable to it this whole time. And so this is why regulating your nervous system has to be the first step to change. Because when you can regulate your nervous system, when you can get from this state of stress to a state of calm, you can be conscious about the version that you're showing up as. If you feel like in the past you've tried to set healthy habits before and it's never worked out for you, it's because you're probably in the stress state. And when you're in the stress state for a long period of time, you're on automatic. Your brain always wants the easy things first, especially when you're in the stress survival state, right? When you're in that stress state, your brain is just like, give me the fast food, give me the Netflix, let me snooze, let me do everything that feels easy and comfortable. And you can't do hard things when you're in the stress state. You can't. In the stress state, your brain will always want easy things. And so if you want to really master consistency, you have to master your nervous system. Because as soon as you turn on that calm response, you can take a step back and ask yourself, what version of myself do I want to show up as right now? You can take a step back and ask yourself, what activity do I need to do right now in order to really support my nervous system? The moment that you can turn on the calm state is the moment that you can actually make a choice about the version of yourself that you are going to show up as. So you need to prioritize regulation before you prioritize productivity. So in the morning, I'll wake up and I will do a 10 to 15 minute meditation. Then I'll do another one in the middle of my day. Then I'll end my day off with one. And then all throughout the day, I'm going to be taking these nice, deep, diaphragmatic breaths so I can really switch my nervous system from the stress state to the calm state. And in that state, I can really make better decisions. For example, I might have a craving for a burger during the day. And if I am not in a relaxed enough state, sometimes I will give in to that craving. Versus when I'm in a relaxed state, I can be like, I can choose the burger right now, but I'm going to choose to eat a salad because I know this is going to nourish me, give me the energy I need, and it's not going to take away from my ability to be able to do work during the day. And that is the power of acting from a regulated, calm state and acting from a stress state. So you need to think about what are some of those daily anchors that you can create during the day that get you from the stress state to the calm state. Some of my patients will have dancing breaks, they'll go on walks during the day, or they'll call up a friend, or they'll practice meditation. You just need to find those daily anchors for you that give your nervous system an opportunity to just come down. And it's in that moment when it comes down, you're able to be consistent. You're able to make better choices for yourself. You need to stop expecting consistency from a body and system that feels unsafe. And you need to create that safety within yourself. And when your brain and body finally step out of that survival mode, you can make better decisions about the version of yourself that you're showing up as. A regulated nervous system is truly what is going to give you access to your best self. And it's the number one thing that you can focus on to help you be consistent this year. And I love how this isn't about hustling harder or doing more. It's more about getting yourself into this calm state so that you can make better choices and decisions about yourself. Tip number 3 is to create habits that actually match your capacity. So important. Before you create your list of 20 different habits, take a step back and ask yourself, this next year of your life that's coming up, what is your actual capacity for change? I was talking to one of my girlfriends at this New Year's party that we had a couple days ago, and she was telling me that she has 11 weddings to attend to this year, okay? And we are talking about 11 Punjabi Indian weddings. So that's basically 7 days of events for each one of these weddings. So you can do the math. That's already 77 days of her life spent this year in wedding mode. If that was honestly my schedule coming up for this year, I would have to take a step back and really get clear on my priorities. And I would probably only have max 1 or 2 goals because I know that I will not have the capacity to do a lot this year because my relationships, my community is going to be taking up a lot of my time, and that's okay. And maybe that is what the goal of this year is to build that strong connection in community. And so you need to take a step back and really look at this next year. Do you have small children? Are you in school still? Do you have other priorities coming up in this year of your life? Because that is all going to shift your capacity to be able to be consistent. And this year, I want you to set yourself up for success, not for failure. And so that means that you need to get clear on your capacity. And if it means you only have the capacity to do 1 or 2 things, that's okay. That's okay. It's better than you telling yourself you're going to do 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 things and then only be able to do 1 or 2 of them and then feel like a failure. We don't want to do that. We don't want to constantly be putting ourselves in positions and spots that make us feel like we're not good enough, that make us feel like we're a failure. Okay? We're putting that and leaving that behind in 2025. We're not bringing that into 2026. I've spent my whole life designing my life so that I constantly feel not good enough. And I, at one point, was like, I'm so over it. Because if I don't feel good enough now, I'm never going to feel good enough. And I need to redesign my life in a way where I'm ending each day feeling good about myself, not worse about myself. And so part of that means looking at what you actually have the capacity for. So 2 things that I really want you to keep in mind when creating these habits. Number 1 is be mindful of the influencers you follow online. So if you follow a lot of these fitness influencers and maybe you're a mom with 2 kids, but you're following a 25-year-old fitness influencer and then comparing your body to theirs. You can't compare your body or your life to theirs because this is a 25-year-old with no kids, no family, no other extra responsibilities, and their ability to take care of their body is going to look very different if you're a mother who's working with 2 children, right? Your capacity of what you can do for your health is very, very different. So you want to make sure that you're following and looking at people that that match your current lifestyle so that this way you can create more realistic habits and expectations of yourself. And then the other thing that I really want you to remember too is that if your habits only work on good days, these are not sustainable habits. The amount of times I'll have conversations with my patients and they'll be like, this habit, this sleep routine, this habit worked really well in these XYZ conditions, but then this came up and then I wasn't able to do it. And then I'm just like, that wasn't a sustainable habit. And when you create these habits for yourself, I want you to ask yourself, even on your worst day, and if you had your worst day ever where you had no time for this, how would you do it? Would you be able to do it? So I want you to design your habits in a way so that you can even do them on your worst days. So these habits that you're creating, you should be able to do on your days that you feel your worst, that you feel extremely tired, because we want to create habits that are repeatable, not impressive, right? We don't need to be going to our friends and being like, oh my God, I did XYZ for like 100 days and I'm so proud of myself. And don't get me wrong, that's amazing. It's amazing you had that streak, but let's not focus on the streak and let's actually focus on habits that are repeatable, that we can rinse and repeat day in and day out. And it doesn't matter how boring they seem to other people, because ultimately consistency is built on what you can repeat and what you have the capacity for. Tip number 4, this is probably my favorite tip because of course I'm a naturopathic doctor. So stabilize your body, okay? Stabilize your body. If you want to be consistent in 2026, you need to learn how to stabilize your body. And yes, part of that is going to be nervous system regulation work, but the other part of this is going to be to really manage your blood sugar levels. If your energy and mood wax and wane, so they go up and down all throughout the day, something I really want you to look at is how you're fueling your body and making sure you're fueling your body in a way that allows you to be consistent with your habits. Because let's be honest, the days where you don't feel so good, you don't want to do these habits. I know I don't. The days that I know I didn't get a good night's sleep, it is so difficult for me to get out of bed. The days that I go during lunchtime and give into my cravings of having a burger, like it's really difficult for me to then be consistent with my healthy habits after having that burger. So you really want to manage your blood sugar levels, because if your blood sugar levels end up getting too high or they end up dipping too low, you are going to find it really difficult to be consistent with your healthy habits, because with your blood sugar getting too high or too low, your energy is going to go up and down, your mood's going to go up and down, your motivation's going to go up and down, everything's going to go up and down, and it's going to feel like you don't have control over anything in your life. So if you're doing things like under eating or overeating, or if you're skipping meals, or maybe you're eating all throughout the day, or maybe you're relying on caffeine for energy, which, by the way, side note, you don't need to do. One of the best things I did in my life was to stop drinking coffee and switch completely over to teas. I can make a whole other video on this. Let me know if you want tips and tricks on that. It's one of the best things I did for my mental health and well-being. But if you're doing any of these things, it's going to really affect your ability to have really nice, stable energy throughout the day. And that is going to then affect your ability to be able to follow through. So you want to fuel your mind and your body for stable energy throughout the day, and really making sure you're getting those like healthy proteins and fats and eating those veggies. You're eating consistently throughout the day, and you're prioritizing fuel that is going to help you follow through and be consistent, instead of fuel that's going to cause you to fall off. And you don't at all need to be perfect with any of this, okay? I enjoy some really delicious food every once in a while, and the best thing that you can truly do is to focus on 80% of the time fueling your body in a healthy way. You do it 80% of the time, you'll be rocking and having stable energy. Tip number 5, and I'm looking at you in the eyes as I say this, because I know that you're guilty of this. You know why? Because I used to be so guilty of this all the time. So tip number 5 is stop starting over. Stop it. Stop telling yourself you're going to start fresh on Monday, or start fresh next month, or start fresh at XYZ, whenever. Stop telling yourself. We don't do start overs, okay? We're not starting over on anything. If you had a healthy habit that you were supposed to be consistent with, like say working out, and then you missed 2 days, you're not starting over, you're simply picking back up. So stop telling yourself that you're starting over, you're starting from square one. That just creates more of a sense of failure in your mind, and we don't want you to feel like that, okay? As we've already established, feelings of failure and feelings of not good enough are things we want to avoid this year, because the more that we cause ourselves and allow ourselves to feel like a failure or not good enough, the harder it becomes for us to actually be able to move forward and be consistent, okay? And I really, really want to nail that, like hammer that in your head, is that the more you tell yourself you're a failure or that you're not good enough, the harder it is to be consistent, right? Like imagine if you had a child in front of you and you told them constantly that they're a failure or they're bad at math. Does that child want to do math? They don't. So same with yourself. If you constantly tell yourself you're a failure or you're bad at XYZ, you're not going to want to do the thing that you're supposed to do, okay? So no more telling ourselves we're going to start over. And instead, here's a tip that I want you to follow. I actually heard this from Diary of a CEO and I loved it. I think it was that podcast. I think it was when he was talking to Chris Williamson, and they talked about how when you miss a habit, you simply just want to start it again as soon as you remember, right? You don't want to miss a habit twice, essentially. So if you missed working out one day, that's okay. Don't miss it the second day. Just don't miss a habit twice. And that's the rule that I want you to apply in your life. Just don't miss a habit twice. If you miss it, that's okay. Just start back up again. And so when you take out of your mind that you are restarting and simply just see it as a reset, it completely shifts the way that you show up. So you're never ever restarting. You're simply picking up where you left back off. So you need to let go of this all or nothing mindset. Let go of the streaks, the perfect streaks, right? They don't matter. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about showing up anyways. Just show up anyways, however you can. You are going to have days where you're tired, where you're exhausted, where it's raining outside. And I want you to just take a step back and just ask yourself, what is the best way I can show up anyways, even though my circumstances aren't perfect? So many of us will build healthy habits based on the perfect circumstances of our lives that rarely ever exist. And in one of the earlier tips, I talked about not creating habits around that, right? Your habits should not be dependent on your outside circumstances. This should be something that you're able to do regardless of what's happening outside of you. And if you feel like you can't, you need to simplify that habit. You need to change it up and make it be more flexible and easier for you to actually consistently do long term, because that is what consistency is about. It's about being able to show up long term no matter what's happening in your life. It is not about being perfect. So remember, consistency is never about not falling off track. It's about not panicking when you do, because you know you can get right back on track. Tip number 6 is identity over intensity. This is such a juicy one. I can make so many more videos on this. But when you set these healthy habits in place, I need you to think about who is the type of person that these habits come to naturally. So if you're someone who wants to consistently go to the gym, ask yourself, who is the type of person that going to the gym comes naturally, that eating healthy comes naturally, that being calm comes to naturally. And that's who I want you to focus on being. When you think about the identity that you need to do, the behavior comes naturally. Like think about a scientist and how their brain thinks versus thinking about like a business owner and how their brain thinks, right? These two different people in these two different roles have brains that work differently and are optimized to their specific role that they need to show up as. And the same thing you can apply to any of these habits that you want to employ in your life. If you want healthier relationships, think about the identity of the person that you need to embody. So maybe someone who has healthy relationships is extremely calm. They're able to be compassionate. They're very empathetic. They are patient. And when you can learn to embody these characteristics of someone who has healthy relationships, you get healthy relationships. When you embody the characteristics of someone who is healthy, you become healthy. When you embody the characteristics of a successful business owner, you become one. So more than thinking about the habits you need to do, I want you to think about the identity you need to embody, because when you can create habits that are more identity focused, you're able to be consistent long term. I constantly tell myself that I'm a very healthy person. And my blood work markers show that. And the way that I show up in my life is reflective of that. So what does that mean? I have an incredible sleep routine. I wake up early. I take supplements. I work out in the mornings. I, throughout the day, take breaks for myself. I go to the grocery store and plan my meals. And so because I see myself as this healthy person, taking action on these healthy habits and behaviors feels really easy to me. Like I don't think twice about working out in the morning. It's just what I do. I don't think twice about giving myself healthy breaks. Like right after I record this video, I'm going to go outside and go on a walk, and there's some snow outside to shovel too, so that I'm going to get some activity that way, but that's going to be my break. And in the past, when I didn't see myself as this healthy person, I wouldn't do these things. I wouldn't take breaks during the day. I wouldn't plan my meals. I would be wishy washy with my workouts. But shifting this identity and shifting how I see myself has allowed me to be so consistent with these behaviors, and I don't have to think about it. And I think that's truly the most powerful thing about really embodying the identity piece, because so many of us, we experience this like internal dialogue and conflict all the time, right? Where we're just like, oh my God, I'm so tired, but I know I need to work out, but I don't want to, but my bed is so cozy, but maybe just like 5 more minutes. And we have this constant internal dialogue versus when you've just embodied the identity of this person, version of yourself you want to be, that dialogue goes away. Like, I don't think twice about working out. I just do it. It's not a conversation or dialogue in my head. I just do it. And that is the power of really focusing on identity instead of focusing on intensity. So don't just ask yourself, what should I do? I want you to ask yourself, who am I actually becoming? And then take action based on that. And then the last tip is to design your environment for success. It becomes so much easier to be consistent when your environment is set up for success. And your environment isn't just your physical space, it's also the people that you choose to be around. It's the things that you choose to listen to and consume. It's how you've set up your life. And I want you to really take a step back, and I want you to think about the habits that you want to be consistent with this year. And I want you to ask yourself, is your life set up to help you be consistent with these habits? Or is your life set up to help you not be consistent with these habits? Or is it set up to cause you to fail? And I want you to consider all these areas of your life, because when your life is set up for success, it becomes so much easier to be consistent. So I want you to ask yourself, when are you planning on doing these habits? So for example, if you want to wake up early and go to the gym, have you set up your evenings so that you can go to sleep earlier, so that you can wake up earlier? Have you set up strategies in place so that it's easy for you to wake up in the morning? Maybe it looks like you putting your clothes out. Maybe it looks like, you putting your alarm clock on the other end of the room so you're forced to wake up. Or if you have a partner that sleeps with you, they're your accountability buddy and they're making sure that you get up in the morning. These are all simple ways that you can optimize your environment more. Maybe it looks like the night before on weekdays, you're not hanging out with your friends late because you know that you need to wake up in the morning. The more that you can really optimize your environment for success, the easier it becomes to be consistent. You really shouldn't be trying to override your environment with discipline and willpower. So if you're trying to be healthier and you live with other people in your home, let them know that, so that this way there's not so much junk food around all the time that it's easy for you to binge into. Maybe let your friends know that you're not going to be going out to dinners as much. And if they want to hang out with you, you have to do some sort of activity instead, like going on walks together or doing something that's going to be healthier for you instead of just sitting down and having dinner. I know that these can be some really difficult and uncomfortable conversations to have, because trust me, I am still working on this in my life to really own my habits and the things that I want to embody and just communicating that to other people. So I completely get that this can feel difficult, but I am telling you, when you have these conversations with the people around you and really take a look around at your environment and set up for success, it becomes so much easier to be consistent with your healthy habits. So a question that you can ask yourself when it comes to your habits that you're setting is asking yourself, if this was easy, what would it look like? Or how can I make it be easier for me to be consistent with these habits? And when you can look at things from this perspective of making it easy, you're going to come up with all sorts of ideas as to how you can set your environment up for success, because I am telling you, there is always a way to make things be easier than you think they are. And maybe even spend 5-10 minutes, put a timer on and just write down all the ways it can be easy for you, and then just circle and pick and choose some ways that actually feel doable in your environment right now. The hardest part of this might be to really take a hard look at some people in your life and think about who's taking you away from your healthy habits and potentially thinking about not having them in your life. I know that feels really difficult, really uncomfortable, but I'm telling you, when you just exclude the people that are not going to support this next version of you, becoming this next version of you, being consistent and just creating your best life ever becomes so much easier. I really, really hope that these tips were helpful and that you have been inspired to be consistent this year with your habits all year long. along without burning yourself out hustling harder. And if at any point things start to feel like they are difficult for you, just take a step back, ask yourself, how can this be easier? Because doing more, hustling harder is not the way around this. Take a step back, reset, and keep moving forward, because part of this process also means to switch up your systems and try new things, especially when you find that things aren't working for you. So you got this, and I am rooting for you this year.